Right. Hello. This is emergency podcast, but it will be episode 7 of Homie and the
It will be
Dude.
7, yeah.
So we're doing this podcast today because after our last predictions walking podcast, we realized that some news came out. There's a couple of big pieces of news within the MMA community that we wanted to address and talk about with you guys going into this fight week. So first thing I want to do is actually talk about what our plans are for the rest of this week and how we're going to be doing things. So we're doing this podcast today, and then we have another podcast set up on Friday with a guest who is involved in the MMA world. They are a BJJ practitioner. Hopefully we'll have them on Friday. We're very excited to talk to them. Hopefully going to be a very good podcast.
Super psyched, yeah.
Super psyched for him. And then we then also are going to do a new style podcast. So again, following fight week and one of the biggest fight cards ever that has recently got even more crazy, we are going to be doing a live stream during the fights. We will be doing what I guess Joe Rogan calls a fight companion, but we'll be doing our version of that. So if you want to come along for the ride and watch the fights with us, if you have BT Sport and you're watching the fights, or however you're watching the fights and you want to watch with us, we will be live streaming at Homie and the Dude on our Facebook page. So check that out. Also, another surprise twist.
This is the surprise.
This is the surprise. So we talked about a surprise in our walking podcast, and that is that we're going to be running a competition this week for that live stream podcast for the fights. If you're someone that loves watching fighting, if you're someone that likes Homie and the Dude, why not do both together at the same time by entering in this competition? All you have to do is basically share this podcast. You have to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're already subscribed, you're already 1/3 of the way there. You're ahead of the others. And then finally, you have to comment, "It's time," Bruce Buffer style, in the comments. We need an "It's time" in the comments. And then first person to complete all 3 of those tasks will be invited to our Zoom call during the live stream. You will be on the live stream with us, and we will chat and hang out for the entire evening if you want to. Go for it, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's more than one person, then we may have a backup of people. Let's say someone wants to come and they can only hang out for an hour or whatever, or they drop out. So if you're the second person or third person or whatever, we'll have just like a row of names that we may be able to access during the call. So it should be fun. It should be really cool to have people in on the call, people coming and going perhaps as the fights are going through, and we'll all just be able to sit back, chat, enjoy the night.
Yeah. Again, if you love fighting, if you love Homie and the Dude, this is the one for you. Cool. So let's get into the news that the UFC world and the MMA world has received this week. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah. So I think we taped last week on. It was later last week, but pretty much soon after we taped, maybe the night of or the next day, we heard that Khabib's dad, Abdul Manap Nurmagomedov, passed away. And so that was a big thing. It was a big thing in the MMA world, in the UFC world. And for me, it definitely hit me in a way that these types of, like, I don't know what you want to call them, sort of like celebrity deaths. Some of them are like, oh, whatever, like it's really bad, really sad, whatever. And other ones just kind of hit you in a way that it's exceedingly sad. So for me, there's something about their relationship that you knew about Khabib and his dad's relationship, right? You saw it so many times in videos. I just was watching a video over the weekend where Khabib is basically saying to the reporters, "I just want to talk about my dad."
It's a great video.
Did you see that one? Yeah, and the reporter's like trying to ask him questions. No, I want to talk about my dad. And she's like, "So what is the best thing about, like?"
No, he's like, "What do you miss most about being away from Dagestan?" He's like, "Missing my father."
Yeah, my father. Yeah. And then there's the bit where he fights Conor McGregor. There's the chaos after the match. He goes flying out of the cage. After that, he is being interviewed, and he basically says, I'm going to have to answer to my father when I get home. I understand that. So there's this connection, this deep connection that really resonated, and it hit me in a way that, we've never met Khabib, we've never met his dad, but we could sense their relationship. And so you could sense how much Khabib is in pain right now.
Do you know what is interesting is I think also because you and me have a father-son relationship and we love MMA in the way that we do, I think that probably hit both of us in a specific way. And something that I thought about early when we started this podcast, interestingly, is that we would at some point start doing, like, I love the idea of doing father-son combinations on here with us as well, like having guests that are father and son
Nice.
as well. I kind of thought about that. And one of the ones that I thought about is at some point, if we got big enough, if we could pull them, get Khabib and his father on would be really cool, because then it's a two father-son dynamics,
Yeah.
you know, all of that would be very interesting. So obviously there would be language barriers and things like that that we'd have to try and work around. But I definitely had considered at some point that we might want Khabib and his father on, and now we can.
Yeah.
And that's, well, I mean, we can still have Khabib and we can still honor his father, but
Yeah.
we can't have both of them. And that's really sad, man. That made me really sad, because I was like, I would have loved to have, again, experienced that dynamic in person, like felt that love. I also saw a video of Daniel Cormier that Daniel Cormier posted. I think it was on Instagram. And it's basically him talking about Khabib's father and how he was in the gym. And there's a video of him rolling with one of DC's young wrestling like kids that he's bringing up, kind of thing. And he's doing some wrestling with him. And he was just like, even at the old age that he is, he was happy to get in there and teach the kids and, you know, play around with them and be like, and like just being a good presence in the gym and being, again, he's doing this with American kids in America,
Yeah.
you know, spending time with them. And again, the impact he had in Dagestan as well. I know that he's helped hundreds of kids out there and given them like direction, especially young boys,
Yeah.
and giving them mad direction. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, I just was thinking about the Dagestan. So the little bit of context, I don't know a lot of it, with Abdul Manab, is he was a military man. He had 3 kids. So Khabib is the middle son, I believe. So he has a younger son, then Khabib, and then a younger daughter rather. So 3 kids. But so he got them all sort of into martial arts, and then his influence started expanding throughout Dagestan, and it is just known that he is considered
One of the best sambo wrestling coaches in the world.
yeah, and just also I mean, you could tell he was so influential in this part of the world, and I can imagine how, you know, how devastated people are. I watched another video on actually everyone paying tribute to Khabib's dad, and it's, you know, it's a very Muslim orientated ceremony. And it's just, yeah, it's just very touching, just very touching. So anyway, from us to Khabib and to your family and to the greater MMA community in Dagestan, may your dad rest in peace.
Yeah, condolences all around.
Yeah.
In terms of something else that I wanted to also bring up with that is he, like, in terms of his influence within Russia and stuff, I'm not sure if you've ever realized this, but I'm lucky that I play. So for people who don't know, I like to play a game called Counter-Strike Global Offensive on my computer sometimes. And a lot of that game's population is Russian, actually. So a large proportion of the people that I play with and spend my time with, if I am playing the game, are Russian people. So often the game will start and your team will start talking to you, and it'll start with everyone being like, Shalom Aleichem, like everyone's gets straight into it. And it's like, it's a very interesting, beautiful community in that way. But also something that's funny is every time I speak to Russian people, I like to test something. I actually go to them. Do you guys know Khabib? Do you know who Khabib is? And more recently, since the news broke, I've been asking Russian people if they've heard about Khabib and his father and the passing. And like 90% of the Russian people I talk to on Counter-Strike are like, oh my God, it's so sad. Or like, yes, of course I know Khabib, great fighter, amazing wrestler, like blah, blah, blah. Like, they are a huge presence in Russia. And like, this is why I talk to a lot of Russian people on there, and 90% of them know who he is at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, massive condolences.
I think the other thing really quick is now we can fully contextualize the timeline of Khabib's actions leading up to the Tony Ferguson fight. So there's a lot of criticism leading up to the Tony Ferguson fight. I think it was like a couple weeks before the fight, COVID starts really ramping up, and all of a sudden we hear Khabib has left, right? He's left his team in California, and he's gone back. I think he went to the UAE, and then he went to Dagestan. and everyone was like, why and how and how does this happen? And I was even very critical of like, why the hell would he leave now? And I think he made some sort of comment like, don't blame me. This is about COVID. This is about coronavirus, right? This is not about Khabib. This is about me, essentially getting back to my family. And so at that point, I'm not sure where in the timeline Abdulmanap was sick or not, but the great news, I think the silver lining in a really, really dark cloud is that he made a choice to be there.
Choice.
The choice, yeah.
Choice.
To be back with his dad and to be, at least to have some time with his father. And I'm not sure how that played out, how much they were communicating or not, but another, hand up to Khabib saying like, dude, that was the right decision. Family first always, and that's something that you'll be able to look back on and always have in your mind, like, I made the right decision.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I know exactly.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of articles about that, and just 100% you made the right decision. Yeah. Onto greener pastures, onto brighter days. We got some weird news out of the MMA community, and that's what we want to talk about next. Some freaking weird news. I know I wanted to address something as well, because this always scares me when I hear this. Is apparently Max Holloway has been training over Zoom and hasn't been sparring. Yeah. Now, to me, I understand the whole, and it's like a debate that continues, the whole sparring and not sparring before a fight, because, you don't want to get your head bopped around too much. You don't want to possibly injure yourself, all this kind of stuff. But also you need to be ready to take some punches. You need to be training for what that style of fighter is like, I think. However, Mike Perry proved us wrong in the last fight night. He did 0. I think he said he sparred once, and his girlfriend was his coach. And I tell you what, at one point, I'm 100% sure her coaching advice in the corner was, "You're doing great, daddy." And I'm like, dude, I'm so confused about what that coaching advice is. I don't like, and she didn't say anything else. That's the other thing. It's like for the whole minute.
And it worked.
And it worked. Like that's the crazy thing is Mike Perry comes out with the win. He looks super dominant. Don't get me wrong. His striking wasn't super sharp. It was a bit haymakery. It was a bit swinging wild.
You're right.
But he won the fight. So, Max Holloway, I don't think he's employed his girlfriend. I think he's still using his coaching team, but he's not sparring. He's training over Zoom. What do you feel about that? What's your thoughts?
Like you, I'm super, super concerned. Now, there's a couple things. He might be playing mind games, so maybe he actually did some sparring. But what I think I'm pretty confident about is, so the New Zealand team, Eugene Barrowman, and so he coached Hooker a couple weeks ago, Dan Hooker a couple weeks ago, and he's going to be in the corner for Volkanovski. He's Adesanya's coach. He's known as a striking legend. Like he knows his stuff as far as striking. Hooker looked sharp, right? I mean, Poirier was super sharp as well, like maybe even sharper, but Hooker looked sharp. So whatever that progress of training was for Hooker, you have to think was probably consistent with what he's doing with Volkanovski right now. Yeah, Holloway, man, I love you, dude. But if you've literally been like, shadow boxing and hitting the bag and, been on your bike, and he mentions a little bit of cardio. He has some videos of hiking and things like that. I'm sure his cardio is going to be strong. But Volkanovski is like super, super high level striking, like with feints and, mixing things up. And if you have not trained for that with a human, like opposite you, then, man, I am worried. I am worried.
There's only so much his Hawaiian heart can do for him. Like, don't get me wrong. He's got the biggest heart. He's, there's few people that as a champion will stand in the middle of a ring in the last 20 seconds of a round, round 5 with dudes and be like, let's just swing. Yeah. Like, who cares? Let's just swing and put on a show. Like, but there's only so much that, again, like I said, the Mike Perry thing is the anomaly that then makes me go, shit, I don't know. But typically and traditionally and consistently, sparring is proven is one of the big ways to prepare for a fight and to consistently be one of the ways to help you prepare for a fight. So I think again, I've always favored Volkanovski after the first fight, actually. Don't get me wrong, Max Holloway is a fucking demon and he does crazy shit and he's absolutely incredible. And there's some of the best striking you've ever seen. Easily some of the best cardio in the UFC, like from both of those guys, but mainly Holloway. But Volkanovski's leg kicks were something terrifying. His power that he throws and the way he moves in as well, like the way he like cuts his distance to get closer to Max was so impressive. I think Volkanovski's a badass. I had him winning the fight pretty much anyway, but now I've even got him winning the fight even more.
Maybe stoppage. Like, here's the thing. Like,
that's a good point.
There's levels of sparring, right? You don't have to be sparring with someone and be in full contact with headgear and like taking a lot of punches. But if he has not actually been opposite someone that's just like, moving and replicating different aspects of the stand-up game, he's not done that. Wow.
There's only so much shadow boxing and pads can do for you.
Now he has rejoined his team. I think he rejoined his team on Wednesday. They flew out on Friday, I think. Maybe flew to Vegas on Friday and then they'll have a week
of strong training.
So that is something for sure.
Yeah.
So maybe that's enough. It just hit us when we saw that. We were like, whoops. Did we just like hear correctly? Is that what he just said? And if it is, then it makes you wonder, like, during this period of COVID, like how many guys are actually like fully having what we would call a full camp of getting prepared in the way they're most accustomed to being prepared. And
Gilbert Burns was.
Yeah.
and then there you go.
Yeah.
So but also Brazil's in a lot worse place than a lot of other places at this point, which is, I'm not sure if he's been training in Brazil, but if he has been, then that would make sense.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where Burns. Does he trains at? Is it?
He's with Usman. They train in Florida.
Is it Zillions?
No, Black Zillions isn't around anymore. But they train with. They're all in the same gym. Usman, Masvidal, Burns, and Colby Covington are all in the same gym, I believe. Or
no. Colby's American top team.
Okay.
As is Masvidal, they're American top team.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I think. Okay. Well, I might have this confused. Anyway, there's some sort of crossover there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we raised it. Let's not call it as a red flag, maybe like an amber flag.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. As in, we're concerned, but also it's Max Holloway. He's always proven, irregardless of whatever training he's doing, he's a badass.
Yeah.
And so
he's going to bring it.
Yeah.
He's going to battle. He's going to, I mean, we are up for a hugely entertaining fight. And I love Max Holloway. Like, he is, like, my heart wants Max Holloway to win this fight. It's just my head and like statistics and what I saw, what my eyes saw. I'm feeling like it's going to be a tough night for him, but I'd love him to somehow to reclaim. That would be awesome.
Do you know what's interesting?
You like slightly favor Volkanovski.
I like Volkanovski because I don't know, I feel like Max Holloway is one of the last of the old generation of champions. Like, when we first started, here's interesting. The way I picture it is, when we first started watching, there was a generation of champions that we knew as like the champs, like Holloway, Jones, who was heavyweight. Brock Lesnar. Was Brock Lesnar heavyweight champion?
Yeah, but you had
who else was up there? DC was up there for a little bit. You had
I'm spacing out completely. The guy that's been knocked out, Alistair Overeem.
Oh, Alistair Overeem,
a couple times. Glover Teixeira, like this whole like old school,
And again, also you had you had the lightweight belt was in completely different hands.
Yeah.
It's been all over the place. So for us, this new generation for me of champions that we've got, of Volkanovski, Khabib, you had Cejudo, all these kind of new ones that are kind of appearing, not older names, but
Adesanya new now.
Exactly, new names that are coming out of the woodworks. I kind of like it. I love the sport moving forward always.
I get that.
Like, as much as I love the old, because I'm such a, I studied karate. Like, tradition is where my heart lies, and I love samurai and like all of that. But at the end of the day, it seems like, like we talked with Daniel on our podcast a week and a bit ago, tradition always gets beaten by new, improved, mixed. The best of this, the best of that, the best of this, and the best of that is always better than the traditional way. So
the new Terminator always kills the old Terminator.
Well, no.
The upgraded Terminator.
Yeah. I mean, I guess unless that old Terminator is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he just always wins. He just always wins. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's going to be a great fight still, but yeah, Max Holloway.
Yeah,
dude, you need to stand in front of someone for a little bit.
Just someone at least having the mitts in front of you and like doing some stuff. We're talking like we know what we're talking about, but we'll be watching to see what happens, man.
100%. Final thing, the biggest piece of news to come out of the MMA world, something that started off as something that we were so bummed out about, and then turned into possibly the greatest news that I have received this week.
Yesterday morning.
Yeah. So I would say, just going straight into it, obviously, Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman was the fight that we predicted in our last week podcast. It's the one that we gave our predictions for. It's the one that was happening. Burns confirmed with COVID. Actually, him and two of his cornermen actually did as well. So he's out. And at this point, Tom messages me. We're both bummed. We're like, who's going to step in? If not, are they just going to take Usman off the card, bump everyone else up a slot, and chuck in a filler fight? Like,
That's what I thought was going to happen, because everyone had tested, I think, in Florida, and then they all got on a plane to Vegas, and then they were off to Abu Dhabi, and Usman didn't make that plane. So, he didn't get on that plane. Burns obviously wasn't going to get on it. So when Usman doesn't get on the plane, you're thinking, well, they've scrapped it.
Yeah.
But then there was whispers, wasn't there? Like, there's some discussions happening.
There was rumblings about discussions happening. And then out of nowhere, after weeks of being like, fuck this, I'm kind of done with the UFC and I need to be paid. Well, he didn't say I'm done with the UFC. That was more Jones, but he said I need to be paid more. He's like, I need more money if I'm fighting for these kinds of things. I bet you that 6 day come in and save the day was worth a pretty penny for George Masvidal. So obviously George Masvidal has confirmed that he will be fighting Kamaru Usman on a 6 day notice, 6 day turnaround. It's the fight we all originally wanted. It's the one that Masvidal was offered and then turned down. Like I said, I bet he scored a pretty penny off of those 6 day notice.
Or maybe not. Like, listen, here's what the pitch could have been. Look, Jorge or George, you can come in. We'll pay you what we were going to pay you. If not, here's what's going to happen. We're going to rebook Burns and Usman, but now it's not in July. It's in August or September. So you're still in line.
Your fight is even further away.
Yeah, but your actual fight is now further away. Who knows, like, how that played out.
I think.
But
I think Masvidal stepped in for some more money. I think he was
just hope so, right? Yeah. So, but here's there's. I mean, Masvidal is just a warrior. He's game bred. He's like up for it. He's going to come. He's going to throw. He's looking at this as just like, what he grew up with, right?
This continuing his baptism.
Yeah. And this is like
baptizing fools.
Back to Kimbo days, right? Yeah. I'm just going to roll up and I'm going to
just fight. Yeah. Just throw bombs. Yeah. It's a good point.
But 6 days against Usman, I would have been like, man, how competitive it would have been with him having a full camp. I'm still way, way leaning towards Usman. I love Masvidal. Masvidal has a chance when they're standing because he's super high skilled standing. We saw him against
one of the best boxers out there. Pieced Nate Diaz up for like 3 rounds.
And Diaz is super high level. And he just. So, I mean, Jorge has a fighter's chance standing for sure. Maybe more than that. Like, he's going to be competitive standing.
With his heart, it's even further. Like, like if we were like, Usman is a 10 because he's got grappling, clenching, cage work, wrestling, stand up, and he's got stamina.
Yeah.
If he's a 10 and he's champion, so it makes him a 10. And then we go, cool. He's coming on 6 days notice, so his stamina is probably not going to be great. His stand-up is impeccable, and his heart is like maybe bigger than Usman's. Yeah, maybe bigger than Usman's. And we were talking about that.
Right. Yeah,
we were talking about that in the last podcast and how that's so hard to match. I think he only reaches a 7 for me. Like if we were like giving it a scale, I think based off of that, he only reaches a 7. Don't get me wrong, he's got great. He's not super bad when it gets to the ground. His takedown defense is not bad. The thing is, 6 days, man, for me, it's the stamina. Like, Usman's like gas tank
Yeah.
is so big. Like he's like Amanda Nunes, you know, in the fact that during the Covington fight, you like it seems to be like, funnily enough, the people with more stamina are starting to become the champions. You look at it, Usman, like Volkanovski, Khabib, like all these people that can like weather through the 5 rounds and keep like high pace up are the ones that are like succeeding in the championships.
For real.
It's also why Gaethje's the interim champ right now, because he literally just put the pace on Ferguson for in 4 or 5 rounds, you know?
Yeah. I mean, guys like Colby Covington, he's got some skills, but he's got mad motor. Like he's, so that is an equalizer. If you can get someone gassed, you're just fighting someone that's compromised. So
I hope to God George Masvidal has not been indulging in the gorgeous Miami Cuban food.
That's what I was thinking.
And he's been on the fucking treadmill for months. Just
Dude, do you remember when he beat Nate Diaz? He was at, this is a post-fight press conference. Someone gives him like a double slice of pizza, and he puts it like one slice on top of the other, and he starts eating the pizza. And then he's drinking his, I forget what his new tequila is. But he's doing shots of his tequila as well. Jorge, man. Dude, here's the thing. Like, dude, you gotta watch it.
It's a trend now. Like, people do it. They'll tag him. They'll put 2 pizzas on top of each other and tag Jorge on like Instagram and stuff, and be like, "It's the only way. It must be done."
Well, with that said, like, we're not there yet. Like, he needs to get through weigh-in, and I know Jorge like walks around at least 210. He's got to get down to
I thought he was like 190 maybe tops.
No. Wait, they're fighting at
170.
Oh, 170. Yeah. So maybe he walks around making 195 too. Yeah. 195-ish. Yeah. So he's got to shed 25 pounds, which, they're accustomed to that. I get that. But in 6 days, like, he hasn't been, we don't know what his training has been, but I guess we can feel confident. He's not been training for a fight. So just your mentality's got to be different. I'm not, there's not a date out in the calendar that I know that I got to get up this morning because I feel like I don't really want to work out, but I know that Usman's working out today. He hasn't had that mentality for weeks, right? He's got it for 6 days. 2 of those days, I mean, he's got huge time zone differences. He's flying from America across the world to Abu Dhabi. He's got to be COVID tested 3 more times. I mean, it's like not ideal. It's not ideal.
He's like, again, like I want to be like, his confidence is so high right now that it might carry him through like 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Like, again, that heart and that confidence and that belief in himself is so high compared to some fighters that he might be able to endure. But that's it. It's enduring. It's not winning. It's like he might get 3-2. Like, if it goes to decision, it will be a unanimous 3-2.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be, I just don't think it's going to decision. Honestly, I think either Masvidal is going to shock the fucking world and he's going to drop Usman, and it's going to be the most beautiful, crazy thing anyone has ever seen.
Or he's going to get mushed.
Or Usman is going to just plow through him and he's going to have him up against the cage, and he's going to have him on the ground. And Masvidal is just gonna be like, I cannot deal with this pressure.
We've seen old footage of Masvidal. I think there was some footage of him with Covington. He does not do well with someone that has high level shooting and high level wrestling. It's just not his, like, now that's old footage. So I know Masvidal has done a lot better on like takedown defense, and his whole wrestling game, his whole ground game is better. But Usman is like, who is better than Usman in that game? And like, if you have any weakness, and if that's your weakness, and you haven't trained, dude.
Yeah. I think with Usman as well, he's just such a powerhouse, and also like just not filling me with any more confidence. Even though it was years ago, his last fight, I think it was one of his last fights pre-UFC. I watched of Masvidal. He literally gets choked out. He gets submitted.
Yeah.
Like, but he doesn't tap. That's, again, just contesting to the continued fact that he has heart, is that he doesn't tap. He does just go out.
Yeah.
But like, that's where I'm concerned, is you're looking, don't get me wrong, his boxing, and that's the other thing, is like, that's why fucking Floyd Mayweather can be out of the ring for like 6 years and be 50 and be like, okay, I've still got it. Like, I remember these movements. Like, I remember how to slip it. I remember my spacing. I remember my little, like, change your footwork here. And like, after so much time, it's like, with people like Saenchai, Vasily Lomachenko, Floyd Mayweather, fucking Mike Tyson. Even you look at him at 50 now, still hitting pads. These dudes have trained so much that it's muscle. It's further than muscle memory. It's like ingrained in their like factory like settings almost at that point. Like even if they reset shit, that's still part of their code.
Yeah.
And I think Masvidal is one of those people that has that possibly ingrained in his boxing. I think irregardless of how much he's trained, his boxing will still be crisp and it will still be really high level. I think we can expect striking to not have dropped, the consistency of his striking to not have dropped.
That's probably what he's thinking as well. He's thinking like, look, okay, I haven't had a full camp. I know I'm better than he's thinking this, I'm better than Usman on the feet. I just need to tag him. I just need to like get my combinations together. I need to back him up. I need to get him to respect me so he's not shooting and trying to get me on the ground. And he like fully believes he can do that. And you know what? Fair play to him, because we've seen him do it over and over again. I mean, the feint and the trap that he set for Darren Till was next level, right? And at that point, Darren Till was like the gorilla. He's like the next, and set him back way back. He's now had to go up a division and all this.
Someone even said, "Do you want to fight Masvidal again?" He was like, "No, I don't want to get knocked out again." He's like, "I'm okay."
Yeah. So he has all that bag of tricks, right? And he's probably just thinking, "I'm just going to pull out the bag and let's see what happens." And I might gas, but I'm backing myself in 3 rounds. I'm going to put such a hurt on Usman that I'll make it through 5 rounds just because he'll just have to respect me. And that could actually play out. I wouldn't bet on it, but it could play out.
My money stays in my bank account, but I'll watch that shit. You know, I think, I don't know. I think I want Masvidal to compete. I don't want it to be a 2-round, a 1-round.
Yeah, choke out, like mush and a choke out.
But also, dude, I would love to see Masvidal sitting there with his hands all cocky up against cage, talking shit. And as Usman runs in, goes for a takedown, get another flying knee knock. That would be also insane. Like, because he also faked it against, he went for the same move against Nate Diaz. If you watch at the beginning of the Diaz fight, he kind of fakes for the knee. And there's a moment where they both kind of giggle about it. And you're like, I wonder if he's just going to do this like as a thing at the beginning of his fights. Like, you know, he's going to go for a flying knee.
I mean, you look at his mindset. I mean, think about Masvidal growing up. He's literally dropping into backyards where he is like,
he's got no training,
dude, and he's going into like really like hostile environments, and like, dude, it's like straight up.
There's dogs out there, and fucking this dude's picking their belly button like, "Go on, boy, hit him, boy." You know,
and yeah, like he, the guy he fought that I saw, he fought him twice, beat him twice. He becomes basically Kimbo's like buddy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the legend of Jorge Masvidal. That's like his, like you said,
Jesus.
that's his DNA. Yeah. So he is no way intimidated by stepping into ring with
6 days notice. I watched a video of him getting on his flight to Abu Dhabi. And he's swagging like over the like. This is what I mean. Is his confidence is something to be admired. Like I look at his prowess and I'm like, dude. Like I hope you carry that through all aspects of your life. Like I hope like you are that level of confidence through every. Like you throw something in the bin and you're just that cold. You're like, I'm gonna hit this. And like, regardless of your training with basketball or throwing things in places, he's just got this supreme confidence in everything he does, I reckon. He's like, I'm going to destroy these wings. He's like, I got to play. So I'm going to destroy these fucking wings.
1 slice of pizza. Slap that on. I want 2 slices of pizza at once.
It's like, I can eat 2 at once, bitch. That's what I mean. I love his confidence. I love Jorge Masvidal. I love what he does.
Yeah. That first round is going to be a banging first round. No matter what happens, he's going to be there throwing. He's got enough fitness that 1 round is not going to gas him.
Yeah.
Right? We'll just see
We've at least got 2. I think by the end of the second though, if he's been on the ground, then we're looking at some stamina problems. But again, I'm not sure whether he's been training much. I need to check his Instagram and have a look at whether he's been training much. If he has, shit.
Yeah.
Like if he's been like at least keeping his cardio in a good place, then we might have something.
I was thinking about this, like when Usman and Burns fell out, I was like, okay, how much of my experience just got like compromised? And I thought, Usman, if we say 100% equals the whole card. Usman and Burns is how I calculated. Usman and Burns was 30%. Volkanovski, Holloway, 30%. Then 20% for
Andrade and Amanda Nunes.
no.
Oh, Peter Yan and Chris
Jan
Aldo.
and Aldo. 15% for Andrade and Namajunas, and then like 5% for the rest of the card. So immediately, like 30% of the card was swept away. To me, it's not just the 30% that went back. Like maybe like as far as competition, maybe it's less than 30%. But as far as like buzz,
spectacle,
it's more.
Yeah.
Like we got more than 100% of what we had last week with this fight, which is amazing.
And props to Dana White, props to George Masvidal, props to
Usman,
everyone who said yes to that fight. The fact that that something was worked out and that the yeses were shared. Props to all you guys. I know that's a hard one that you guys struggle with within those negotiations a lot of times. So we as fans
love it.
appreciate that shit massively.
Love it.
Cool. I think we're kind of at a nice little end point here. I want to say three things before we finish. First one is, I hope you guys like our new setup. We will be doing all of our podcasts with guests and ones that we're not doing, walking podcasts, in this setup now. Me and Tom realized that centralized was much better for us in terms of our dynamic, making it better for you guys. So
we might be on a Zoom call still, but we'll be here and then we'll have someone else remotely. That's probably how it will be actually for most of it.
So we hope you enjoy the setup. We hope you like the new environment. We're going to be working on our lighting and making sure that we get everything better for you guys as the weeks go. Obviously, we're learning every single week. We're working on our tech. The setup that we have right now is absolutely crazy. You should have seen how long it took us to set this up. But it
still almost forgot to turn on the light.
But we're super happy with this, and we can't wait to bring you more content of this centralized kind of method of us being in the same spot. Second thing I wanted to mention, again, just reminding you guys about that competition. Share this video, subscribe to YouTube, and leave a comment saying it is time. After you have done all of that, if you are the first person, you will be definitely locked in for the Zoom call. Everyone following that, depending on what happens with that first person, we'll see whether you feel we're in or not. Final thing. As always, guys, we, like I said, are learning as we go. We're getting better tech. We're getting more experience in this, and we're trying to do everything we can to spread this and make this bigger. So please share this podcast, our page, talk to people about it, tell people about an interesting part of the podcast. Hey, it's new conversation. If you're with your wife and you're running out of things to talk about over your wine over dinner, something about the Homie and the Dude podcast. Like our Facebook page. Please, the closer we get to these goals, the closer we move through these goals, the more better content we can provide you guys with as well. And finally, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That also unlocks doors for us as well. With YouTube, it's a little bit different. Obviously, we're not informing you guys when we'll be uploading there as frequently as we are with Facebook. But check in with the YouTube. We will be uploading links there. It is available through our Facebook page. But yeah, other than that, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, we keep coming back to you guys because you're our loyal. You're basically our alpha testers, right? And we have a small. This is our core La Familia. For us to expand this, like sharing is really important. Like that's one way that we get new people to know what you guys know. So that's hugely important. The other thing that we're doing is we're finding guests. They have their own circle, right? And then we get new eyeballs on us and we can hopefully branch out that way. And so this is the process that we're going through. We may even look at some advertising. We're really trying to build it out so that we have a community. Mentioned La Familia, we introduced that as that's what we want to call you guys. You're our family, we're your family, and we want to build this out so that we can do more of this. We can do it more creatively. We can get guests that we all love to see and love to talk to and love to hear from. That's the plan, and continue to just have fun. Like this has been a blast so far. This is number 7, and we are going to continue to do this. So whatever you can do to help us and join us along the ride would be incredible.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This has been episode 7, emergency podcast for this week. Thanks, guys. Later, bye.